A homeless woman threw herself in front of a mafia boss's 10-year-old son and took 5 bullets meant for him. But what happened? When she woke up in his safe house, shattered an entire criminal empire and forced the most ruthless man in New York to confront the one thing he thought he'd lost forever: his humanity. Will Erin survive her injuries? Can she escape the mafia war she's been dragged into? And when Bruce's deadliest enemies come hunting for her, will he sacrifice everything he's built to save the woman who saved his son? If you're already on the edge of your seat, smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe so you don't miss a single heart-pounding twist in this story. And drop a comment below with your honest answer. If you saw a child in danger, would you risk your life to save them? Even if it meant taking bullets meant for them? Be real with me. Now let's dive into how one split-second decision changed 2 lives forever. Erin Holmes had learned to move through the world like smoke. Not physically invisible, though her thin frame and worn-out clothes helped her blend into the urban background of Brooklyn's industrial waterfront. No, Erin had mastered a different kind of invisibility, the art of being so quiet, so careful, so unremarkable that people's eyes slid right past her without registering her existence. It was a survival skill she'd perfected over 3 years of homelessness. In her previous life, Erin had been anything but invisible. As a paramedic for New York Presbyterian Hospital, she'd been confident, competent, respected. She'd saved hundreds of lives. She'd been the person people called when everything was falling apart. Now, she was the person people avoided making eye contact with. The transformation had happened gradually, then suddenly. A child with severe asthma, a treatment decision made in seconds, a small mistake in medication dosage that led to an allergic reaction, a death, a lawsuit, a destroyed reputation, lost license, lost apartment, lost friends, lost identity, lost everything. For the first year after the lawsuit, Erin had tried to fight, applied for jobs, attended hearings, defended herself. But the medical community closed ranks against her. The dead child's parents, rightfully devastated, made sure everyone knew her name and her failure. Eventually, Erin stopped fighting, stopped trying, stopped caring. She'd been homeless for 26 months now. 792 days of surviving on the edges of a city that had once been her home. Tonight was day 793. Erin crouched behind a dumpster near Pier 9 in Red Hook, her breath fogging in the freezing November air. It was just past midnight. The temperature had dropped to 28 degrees. Her fingerless gloves, salvaged from a trash bin 2 weeks ago, did almost nothing to protect her hands. But they were better than nothing. Her stomach cramped viciously. She hadn't eaten in 36 hours. She'd been searching the area behind the seafood restaurants for over an hour, moving from dumpster to dumpster, looking for anything edible that hadn't spoiled. Competition was fierce. There were at least a dozen other homeless people working this same territory, and the territorial disputes could turn violent. But Erin had learned the rhythm. She knew which restaurants threw out food around midnight. She knew which security guards would look the other way and which ones would call the cops. She knew how to move silently, quickly, invisibly. Tonight's haul was decent. Half a sandwich still wrapped in wax paper. The bread was stale, but not moldy. A bruised apple with one good side, 2 protein bars that had fallen behind a shelf in someone's lunch bag, and 3 unopened ketchup packets. The ketchup packets were gold. Mixed with hot water from a gas station bathroom, they made something approximating tomato soup. It was disgusting, but it was calories. Erin carefully wrapped everything in a plastic grocery bag, and was about to head back to her home, a rusted shipping container tucked behind an abandoned warehouse about a quarter-mile from here, when she heard voices. She froze instantly, pressing herself flat against the cold metal of the dumpster. Male voices. Multiple. Getting closer. Erin's heart rate spiked. Being noticed when you were a homeless woman at midnight meant danger. Robbery. Assault. Sometimes worse. She held her breath and waited for them to pass. But they didn't pass. The voices stopped maybe 20 feet away. Close. Too close. Don't care what your excuses are, Vitali. You've been skimming from my shipments for 3 months. I swear on my mother's grave, I haven't touched a single. Your mother's already dead. And you're about to join her unless you give me one good reason not to put a bullet in your skull right now. Erin's blood turned to ice. These weren't random voices. This was business. Bad business. She risked a glance around the edge of the dumpster. 20 feet away, illuminated by the weak yellow glow of a streetlight, stood a group of well-dressed men in expensive suits that looked completely out of place in this industrial wasteland. 7 men total. 6 of them formed a loose circle around the 7th, a shorter, balding man in his 50s who was sweating despite the freezing temperature. At the center of the group stood a tall man who radiated authority. Dark hair, broad shoulders. The kind of controlled stillness that suggested violence was always an option, just not the first one. His back was to Erin, but even from behind, she could tell he was the one in charge. "Bruce, please," the balding man pleaded. "Give me 2 weeks. I'll get you the money." "I don't want money, Vitali." The tall man's voice was cold, precise. "I want loyalty, and you've proven you don't have it." Erin's paramedic training kicked in automatically. Assess the situation, identify threats, calculate outcomes. Assessment: 1 man surrounded by 6 others. Isolated location. Late night. No witnesses except Erin, who definitely didn't count. Threat level: extreme. Likely outcome: violence, possibly lethal. Erin knew she should leave, quietly, immediately. Whatever was about to happen here wasn't her business. She'd learned over 3 years on the streets that survival meant not getting involved in other people's problems. But then she heard something that made her freeze completely. A new voice, young, frightened. "Dad! Dad, what's happening?" Erin's head snapped up. A car door had opened 20 yards away. A sleek black SUV she hadn't noticed before. And climbing out of the back seat was a child. A boy, maybe 10 years old. Dark hair, wearing expensive clothes. He looked around with wide, confused eyes, then spotted the group of men. "Dad!" the boy called again, starting to walk toward them. "Luca, get back in the car!" The tall man, Bruce, didn't turn around, but his voice cracked with urgency. "Now!" But it was too late. From the shadows on the opposite side of the street, 6 more men emerged. They moved quickly, purposefully, surrounding Bruce's group. All of them had weapons drawn. An ambush. Erin's heart hammered. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Bruce's men reacted instantly, reaching for their own weapons, but they were caught completely off guard. The attackers had the advantage of surprise, position, and numbers. And right in the middle of the kill zone was a 10-year-old boy. "Bruce Benson!" one of the ambushers called out. He was a muscular man in his 40s with a thick accent. Russian, maybe. The great Wolf of Red Hook. Not looking so dangerous now, are you? Bruce shifted position, putting himself between the attackers and Luca. His voice was deadly calm. "You want me? Fine. But the boy leaves. He's got nothing to do with this." The Russian laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "See? That's where you're wrong, Bruce. We don't want you dead. We want you destroyed. And the best way to destroy a man like you?" He raised his weapon, pointing it directly at Luca. "We take away the only thing you actually love." Time seemed to slow down. Aaron watched Bruce's face, visible in profile now, transform. The cold control shattered. Raw terror took its place. He started to move toward his son, but he was too far away. 3 of the ambushers had their guns trained on him. If he moved, they'd shoot him. If he didn't move, they'd shoot Luca. No good options. Luca stood frozen, his young face white with fear, not understanding what was happening, but knowing on some instinctive level that he was about to die. And Aaron made a decision that defied all logic, all survival instinct, all rational thought. She moved. Her body was in motion before her brain could catalog all the reasons this was insane. She ran toward the child, her worn-out sneakers pounding against the pavement, her lungs burning. Her vision tunneling to focus on one single objective: get to the boy before the bullets do. She heard shouting. Someone yelling, "Who the hell is that?" Someone else screaming, "Stop her!" But Erin didn't stop. She was a paramedic. For 10 years, her entire identity had been built around running toward danger when everyone else ran away. Running toward car accidents and building fires and active shooters and burning homes. The training was bone deep, hardwired into her nervous system. She reached Luca just as the Russian's finger tightened on the trigger. Erin threw herself forward, wrapped her arms around the boy's small body, and curled around him, making herself a human shield. The first bullet hit her left shoulder. Pain exploded through her body. White-hot, shocking, obliterating. Erin gasped, but didn't let go. The second bullet hit her upper back, just below her shoulder blade. The third caught her lower ribs on the right side. The fourth tore through her hip. Each impact felt like being hit with a sledgehammer. Erin's vision blurred. Her ears rang. Her body screamed at her to let go, to collapse, to give up. But she didn't. She held the boy tighter, curling around him, protecting him with everything she had. Under her body, she felt Luca trembling, heard him crying, but he was alive. She could feel his heart beating against her chest. He was alive. Mission accomplished. Some distant part of her brain thought with dark humor. Then everything went dark. Erin didn't hear the chaos that erupted after she fell. She didn't hear Bruce's men return fire, driving the ambushers back. She didn't hear the screech of tires as the attackers fled. She didn't hear Bruce screaming at his men to secure the perimeter. She didn't hear Luca sobbing, "Is she dead? Dad, is she dead?" The first thing she became aware of was voices above her. "Jesus Christ, boss, she's bleeding everywhere. Who the hell is she?" "I don't know. She just ran out of nowhere. Boss, she's going into shock." And then one voice, closer, rough with an emotion Erin couldn't identify. "Someone tell me this woman is still breathing." Barely. She took 4 rounds. Shoulder, back, ribs, hip. She's losing blood fast. A pause. Then, "Get her in the car. Now." "Boss, we don't even know who—" "I said, get her in the car." The roar was so loud, so fierce, that Erin felt it vibrate through her chest. "She jumped in front of my son. She took bullets meant for Luca. Which means she doesn't die. Do you understand me? Whatever it costs, whatever it takes, she doesn't die." Erin felt herself being lifted, Strong arms, careful, despite the urgency. She tried to open her eyes, tried to speak, but nothing worked. Her body had shut down to essential functions only. The last thing she heard before unconsciousness claimed her completely was a child's voice, small and broken. "Please don't let her die, Dad. Please." And a man's voice cracking with emotion. "I won't, Luca. I promise." Then nothing. She saved a stranger's child. But what will the mafia boss do now that he owes her a life debt? And why did a homeless woman risk everything for a boy she didn't even know? Drop your theories in the comments. Erin woke to machines beeping. The sound was familiar. Hospital equipment. Rhythmic. Steady. She'd heard it thousands of times during her years as a paramedic. For a confused moment, she thought she was back in New York Presbyterian, working a shift. Then the pain hit. Everything hurt. Shoulder, back, ribs, hip. It felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to every major part of her body and then set the broken pieces on fire. Erin gasped and tried to sit up. "Easy, don't move." A woman's voice, calm and professional. Erin's eyes flew open. She was in a bed. Clean white sheets, which was shocking enough, in a room that looked like a high-end hospital suite. Medical equipment surrounded her. IV stands, monitors, a ventilator on standby. But there were no windows, just blank walls. And the door looked reinforced. Heavy. The kind of door that locked from the outside. A woman in scrubs stood beside the bed, mid-40s, dark hair pulled into a severe bun, sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Where am I?" Erin's voice came out as a croak. Her throat was raw. "Safe." The woman checked the IV line. "I'm Dr. Isabel Cortez, but you can call me Izzy." "Hospital?" "Private medical facility." Erin tried to process that. Her brain felt like it was moving through molasses. I can't pay for—" "You're not paying." Izzy's tone was brisk. "Mr. Benson is covering all costs." Benson. The name triggered a cascade of memories. The docks, the ambush, the boy, the bullets. Oh God, the bullets. "The boy," Erin gasped. "Is he—" "Luca is perfectly fine. Not a scratch on him." Izzy's expression softened slightly. "Thanks to you." Relief flooded through Erin so powerfully that tears sprang to her eyes. He was okay. The boy was okay. That was all that mattered. "You took 4 bullets," Izzy continued, her voice clinical. "Left shoulder, through and through, missed the brachial artery by less than half an inch. Upper back, lodged near your scapula, we had to extract it surgically. Lower right ribs, cracked 2 ribs but missed your liver. Right hip, through and through, missed the femoral artery but did some muscle damage." Erin stared at her. "I should be dead." "Yes," Izzy said bluntly. "You should be. You lost approximately 40% of your blood volume. You went into hypovolemic shock. Your heart stopped twice during surgery. Frankly, the only reason you're alive is because Mr. Benson got you here within 12 minutes of the shooting and threatened to burn down the entire facility if we didn't save you." The matter-of-fact delivery made the words even more shocking. "How long have I been here?" 6 days. 6. Erin tried to sit up again and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through her torso. "I said don't move." Izzy gently pushed her back down. "You've had 2 major surgeries. Your body needs time to heal." "I need to leave. I need to—" "You're not leaving." A new voice, deep and cold, came from the doorway. Erin's head turned. The man from the docks stood in the entrance. Bruce Benson. even more imposing than she remembered. Tall, at least 6'3", broad shoulders, wearing an expensive dark suit that probably cost more than Erin had earned in her entire last year as a paramedic. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Cold, blue, the eyes of someone who'd made difficult decisions and lived with the consequences. "Leave us," Bruce said to Izzy. Izzy hesitated, glancing at Erin. "She just woke up. She needs—" "Leave us," Bruce repeated, his tone leaving no room for argument. Izzy left, closing the door behind her. Bruce and Erin stared at each other. Finally, Bruce moved closer, stopping at the foot of her bed. He didn't sit, just stood there, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "What's your name?" he asked. "Erin. Erin Holmes." Bruce repeated it slowly, as if testing the sound. "And what were you doing at the docks 6 nights ago, Erin Holmes?" I live there. Near there." Bruce's eyes narrowed. "You're homeless." It wasn't a question. Erin nodded anyway, feeling the familiar shame creep up her spine. "Family?" "No." "Friends?" "No." "Anyone who would notice if you disappeared?" The question sent ice through Erin's veins. "Why would I disappear?" Bruce ignored the question. "My men searched your belongings. Found this." He pulled something from his inside jacket pocket and dropped it on the bed beside her. Erin's heart sank. Her expired paramedic ID. The one she'd kept hidden in her boot for 3 years. The last remnant of who she used to be. "Erin Holmes," Bruce read from memory. "New York Presbyterian Hospital. 10 years of service. Exemplary record." His cold eyes met hers. "Until 3 years ago, when you administered the wrong medication to an 8-year-old boy with severe asthma. He died. You were sued, lost your license, lost everything." Erin's vision blurred with tears. "The question I need answered," Bruce continued, his voice softer now, almost curious, "is why? Why would a woman with nothing, no home, no family, no future, throw herself in front of bullets for a stranger's child?" Erin looked away, her throat tight. "Does it matter?" "Yes." Bruce moved closer, his presence overwhelming. "It matters a great deal." Silence stretched between them. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, Erin said, "Because I couldn't save the last one." Bruce went very still. 3 years ago, Erin continued, tears streaming down her face now, an 8-year-old boy named Timothy Chen came into the ER. Severe asthma attack. I was the lead paramedic on duty. I made a call, administered epinephrine, but I didn't check his allergy chart carefully enough. He was allergic to the preservative in the medication. He went into anaphylactic shock. We couldn't bring him back. Her voice broke. I see his face every night. I hear his mother screaming at me in the hospital hallway. I know it was my fault. I destroyed his family. I destroyed my own life. And every single day since then, I've wished I could go back and make a different choice. Erin looked up at Bruce, her eyes red and raw. So when I saw your son in that crossfire, I didn't think. I just knew. I couldn't let another child die. Not if I could prevent it, even if it killed me. Bruce stared at her for a long, long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled a chair to the bedside and sat down. My son, he said quietly, is the only person in this world I love. The only thing that matters. And you saved him. I didn't. Yes, you did. Bruce's voice was firm. If you hadn't covered him, Luca would have taken at least 3 of those bullets. he'd be dead. Which means I owe you a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything, Erin said desperately. I don't want anything. I just want to— You can't go back. The words hit like a physical blow. What? Bruce leaned forward. The men who ambushed us that night work for the Calabrese family, a rival organization. They wanted to kill Luca to hurt me. His eyes were hard. But you interfered. You survived. And now the Calabreses know you exist. They know you're connected to me. Erin's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means they'll try to use you against me, either by killing you to send a message or by kidnapping you to use as leverage. Bruce's jaw tightened. Either way, if you go back to living on the streets, you'll be dead within a week. So what are you saying? I'm saying you're under my protection now. Whether you want it or not. Erin shook her head frantically. You can't just— I can, and I am. Bruce stood. You'll stay here until you're healed. Then we'll figure out what comes next. He moved toward the door. Wait, Erin called out. What if I refuse? What if I just leave? Bruce paused, his hand on the doorknob. He looked back at her, and for just a moment, something like regret flickered across his face. Then you'll die, he said simply. And my son will never forgive me for letting that happen. So please, Erin, don't make me choose between keeping you safe and honoring your wishes, because we both know which choice I'll make. He left, the door closing with a soft, final click. Erin sat alone in the sterile room, her heart racing, her mind reeling. She'd saved a child's life, and in doing so, she'd trapped herself in a world infinitely more dangerous than the one she'd been trying to escape. Erin is now trapped in Bruce's world. But is he protecting her? Or imprisoning her? And what will Bruce's enemies do when they find out about her? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. 4 days passed. Erin spent them in the medical suite, trapped between physical healing and mental imprisonment. Izzy checked on her regularly, changing bandages, monitoring vitals, keeping conversation strictly professional. Guards stood outside her door at all times, never threatening, but always present. A reminder that she wasn't a guest. She was an asset, a complication, a liability. Bruce didn't visit again. On the 5th day, Erin was finally allowed to sit up without feeling like her body was tearing apart. The pain had downgraded from excruciating to merely agonizing. She could move her arms, though her left shoulder protested any significant motion. The wound in her hip made walking impossible, but Izzy said that would improve with time. Time, as if Erin had any idea how much time she'd be here. She was staring at the blank wall, trying not to think about the shipping container she used to call home, when she heard a soft knock. "Come in," she called, expecting Izzy. Instead, the door opened slowly, and a small figure slipped inside. Luca. Erin's breath caught. The boy looked exactly as she remembered. Dark hair, about 10 years old, wearing expensive clothes that somehow made him look even younger. But his eyes were different. Haunted. The eyes of a child who'd seen something no child should see. He stood just inside the door, his hands shoved in his pockets, looking uncertain. "Hi," he said quietly. "Hi," Erin replied, her voice soft. They stared at each other. Luca shifted his weight. "I'm not supposed to be here. Dad said you need rest. But I wanted to see you." "It's okay. You can stay." Luca took a few cautious steps closer, stopping about 5 feet from the bed. Up close, Aaron could see the dark circles under his eyes. The kid looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Are you going to be okay?" he asked. "I think so. The doctors say I'm healing well." "Good." Luca's voice was barely a whisper. "That's good." Silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken words. Finally, Luca said, "It's my fault you got hurt." Aaron's heart clenched. "No, Luca, no, it's not." "Yes, it is." Tears welled in his eyes. "If I hadn't gotten out of the car, if I'd just listened to Dad, you wouldn't have needed to save me. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have gotten shot. Luca, and now Dad says you can't leave because it's too dangerous, and that's my fault too, and I just—" His voice cracked. "I don't want you to hate me." Aaron held out her hand. "Come here." Luca hesitated, then moved closer, taking her hand. His fingers were small and trembling. "Listen to me very carefully," Aaron said firmly. "What happened that night wasn't your fault. You didn't pull the trigger. You didn't plan the ambush. You were just a kid, caught in a terrible situation. But let me finish." Aaron squeezed his hand gently. "I made a choice that night. My choice. Nobody forced me. I saw you in danger and I ran toward you. Do you know why?" Luca shook his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Because you're a kid, and kids deserve to be safe. They deserve to grow up. They deserve to have a future." Aaron's voice softened. "And if I could give you that by taking a few bullets, then it was worth it. Every single one." Luca stared at her, his young face full of confusion and gratitude and pain all mixed together. Then, suddenly, he threw his arms around her. Aaron gasped. The movement jostled her injuries, but she didn't push him away. She wrapped her arms around the boy and held him while he sobbed into her shoulder. "Thank you," Luca cried. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "You're welcome, sweetheart," Aaron whispered, her own tears falling now. "You're so welcome." They stayed like that for several minutes. When Luca finally pulled back, he wiped his eyes and gave her a shaky smile. "Can I visit you again?" he asked. "Of course." "Good." Luca reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I made you something. It's not very good, but—" Aaron unfolded the paper. It was a drawing, rendered in colored pencil with surprising skill for a 10-year-old. It showed a woman with brown hair crouched over a small boy, her arms wrapped around him protectively. Around them, Luca had drawn stars, like they were suspended in space instead of on a Brooklyn street. At the bottom, in careful, childish handwriting, were the words, "My hero." Aaron's throat closed up completely. "This is beautiful," she managed to say. Luca's smile widened. "Really? Really? It's one of the most beautiful things anyone's ever given me." The door opened. Bruce stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Luca," he said quietly. "Time to go." Luca glanced between his father and Aaron, then nodded. "Okay." He gave Aaron one last smile and left. Bruce lingered in the doorway. "You didn't have to let him in," he said. "I wanted to," Aaron replied. Bruce studied her. "He likes you. He's a good kid. He's had a hard life." Bruce's jaw tightened. "His mother died 2 years ago. Car accident. Since then, he's been struggling. I'm sorry. He doesn't open up to people easily, doesn't trust easily." Bruce's gaze was intense. "But He trusts you. Why? Because you protected him when you had no reason to, because you asked nothing in return, because you're the first person in his life who's shown him pure, selfless kindness. Bruce's voice was rough. That matters in my world. That matters more than you know. Erin looked down at the drawing in her hands. He drew you with stars around you, Bruce observed, like you're something celestial, something pure. I'm not pure, Erin said quietly. I'm a homeless woman who made a medical mistake that killed a child. And yet you saved mine. Bruce moved closer. In my world, actions matter more than history, and your actions say more about who you are than any mistake ever could. He turned to leave, then paused. My son hasn't smiled, really smiled, in 2 years. But he smiled today, because of you. Bruce met her eyes. So whatever debt I owed you before just got bigger. He left, closing the door softly. Erin sat alone, holding the drawing against her chest, and for the first time in 3 years, she felt something she thought she'd lost forever: purpose. 2 weeks after the shooting, Erin was finally allowed to leave the medical suite. Under heavy guard, of course, Izzy supervised her first walk through the facility, a sprawling compound that Erin gradually realized wasn't a hospital at all. It was a fortified estate, a safe house. Where are we? Erin asked, as they moved slowly down a corridor lined with security cameras. Upstate New York, about 2 hours north of the city. Izzy steadied Erin as her hip twinged with pain. One of Mr. Benson's properties. How many properties does he have? Izzy smiled grimly. Enough. They turned a corner and passed a room with the door slightly ajar. Erin caught a glimpse inside. Weapons. Lots of weapons. Rifles mounted on walls. Handguns in locked cases. Ammunition boxes stacked neatly. Erin's stomach turned. What exactly does Bruce do? She asked. Izzy stopped walking and turned to face her. You really don't know? I know he's involved in something dangerous, but I don't know the specifics. Izzy sighed. Bruce Benson runs one of the largest organized crime families on the East Coast. Import-export operations, some legitimate, most not. Protection rackets, gambling, money laundering. His territory covers most of Brooklyn, parts of Queens, and he has connections in 6 other states. Erin felt sick. He's a mobster. He's a businessman who operates outside legal channels, Izzy corrected. But yes, if you want the blunt version, Bruce Benson is a mafia boss. They call him the Wolf of Red Hook because he's ruthless, strategic, and nearly impossible to kill. And I'm being protected by him. You're being protected by a man who owes you his son's life, Izzy said. That's a different thing entirely. Is it? Izzy's expression was thoughtful. In your world? Probably not. In his world? Yes. Debts of blood are sacred in organized crime. You saved Luca. That puts you in a category very few people ever reach with Bruce Benson. They continued walking. As they rounded another corner, Erin heard raised voices coming from behind a closed door. Absolutely insane if you think we can keep her here indefinitely. She saved Luca's life, and now the Calabreses know she exists. Every day she's here is another day we're vulnerable. So what are you suggesting, Dante? That we kill her? Silence. Then, I'm suggesting we make a pragmatic choice. Erin froze, her blood turning to ice. Izzy grabbed her arm. Come on, you don't need to hear this. But Erin pulled free and moved closer to the door. Inside, she could hear Bruce's voice, hard as steel. I owe her a debt. Debts don't matter if we're all dead. The other voice, Dante apparently, was angry and frustrated. The Calabreses are already making moves. Nikolai Petrov is circling. And now we have a civilian in the middle of everything who can't defend herself. Then we defend her. For how long? A month? A year? Forever? Dante's voice rose. She's not family, Bruce. She's not crew. She's a homeless woman who happened to be in the wrong place at the right time. She threw herself in front of my son. And that was her choice. But keeping her alive is our risk. Our liability. Our potential death sentence. Dante's tone turned pleading. I'm trying to protect you, boss. I'm trying to protect Luca. And this woman threatens both. Another long silence. Then Bruce's voice, colder than Aaron had ever heard it. She stays. That's final. You're making a mistake. Then it's my mistake to make. Dismissed. Footsteps approached the door. Izzy pulled Aaron back just as the door burst open and a man stormed out. Mid-40s, muscular, with a scar running down his left cheek. He stopped short when he saw Aaron, his eyes narrowing. So you're the hero, he said, his tone mocking. Aaron didn't respond. Dante stepped closer, invading her personal space. Let me give you some free advice. In this world, heroes don't last long. They either become villains or they become corpses. There's no third option. He brushed past her and walked away. Aaron stood frozen in the corridor, her heart pounding. Bruce appeared in the doorway. His eyes flicked to Izzy, then to Aaron. You heard? He said flatly. Yes. Bruce stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind him. Dante's not wrong about the risks. Then let me go, Aaron said desperately. Give me some money and I'll disappear. I'll leave the city. I'll never tell anyone anything. You'll be dead within 48 hours. Bruce's tone was blunt. The Calabreses have informants everywhere. The moment you surface, they'll grab you. Why do they even care about me? Because you're leverage. Bruce's jaw tightened. A woman I feel indebted to. A civilian with no protection, no training, no resources. That makes you incredibly valuable to my enemies. So I'm trapped. You're protected. It's the same thing, Aaron's voice broke. Don't you understand? I didn't save Luca so I could become a prisoner. I didn't take those bullets so I could live in fear. I just wanted... She stopped, tears streaming down her face. What? Bruce asked quietly. What did you want? I wanted to do one good thing, Aaron whispered. One good thing to make up for all the bad. And instead, I've made everything worse. Bruce stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He reached out and gently wiped a tear from her cheek. You haven't made anything worse, he said, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. You saved my son. That's the best thing anyone has ever done for me. But now, people might die because of it. People in my world die every day for far stupider reasons than protecting a child. Bruce's hand dropped. I'm sorry you're caught in this. I'm sorry I can't give you the freedom you want. But I won't let you die because you were brave enough to save my son. I won't! He walked away, leaving Aaron standing in the corridor with Izzy, her mind spinning, her heart breaking. She was trapped, and there was no way out. Aaron has just discovered she's not a guest. She's a liability that some people want eliminated. How long can Bruce protect her when his own crew sees her as a threat? And what will the Calabrese family do When they make their move, keep watching. 3 weeks after the shooting, everything fell apart. Aaron was in the estate's library, a surprisingly cozy room with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a fireplace that actually worked. She'd been reading to pass the time, trying to escape the constant anxiety of being trapped in a world she didn't understand. Luca visited her every day now. They'd developed a routine. He'd bring his sketchbook, draw while she read aloud, and they'd talk about everything except the dangerous world outside the estate walls. Today, Luca was showing her his latest drawing, a landscape of mountains he'd never seen, when the alarms went off, loud, piercing, urgent. Luca's head snapped up. That's the breach alarm. Aaron's heart leapt into her throat. What does that mean? Before Luca could answer, the door burst open. Izzy rushed in, her face pale. Come with me, right now. What's happening? We're under attack. Move! Izzy grabbed Aaron's arm and pulled her toward the door. Luca followed, his face white with fear. They ran down the corridor, Aaron's hip screaming in protest, as armed guards sprinted past them in the opposite direction, shouting, gunfire erupting somewhere in the building. This way! Izzy directed them down a back staircase, through a kitchen, toward a steel door Aaron had never seen before. Izzy punched in a code. The door hissed open, revealing a reinforced panic room, concrete walls, emergency supplies, communications equipment. Get inside, Izzy ordered. Luca ran in first. Aaron followed, her legs shaking. Izzy started to pull the door closed. Wait, Aaron called. Aren't you coming? I'm needed upstairs. Medical casualties. Izzy's expression was grim. You'll be safe here. The door locks from the inside. Don't open it for anyone except Mr. Benson or myself. Izzy! The door slammed shut with a heavy, final thud. Electronic locks engaged with a series of clicks. Aaron and Luca were alone in the panic room. Luca immediately ran to Aaron and grabbed her hand, his whole body trembling. It's going to be okay, Aaron said, trying to sound calm despite her own terror. We're safe here. But she didn't believe it. Through the thick walls, they could hear muffled sounds, more gunfire, explosions, shouting. The attack was intense and sustained. Who's attacking? Aaron whispered. Probably the Calabreses, Luca said, his voice small. They've been threatening Dad for weeks. Why? Because of territory, because of money, because... He looked up at Aaron, his eyes wide. Because of you. Aaron felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. What? I heard Dad and Dante talking. The Calabreses want to kidnap you, use you to control Dad. Luca's grip on her hand tightened. That's why they're here. Aaron's vision blurred. This is my fault. People are dying because I saved Luca, because I got involved. She sank to the floor, pulling Luca down with her, and wrapped her arms around him. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. For what? Luca asked, confused. For making everything worse. You didn't make anything worse. Luca pulled back to look at her. You saved me. If it wasn't for you, I'd be dead. But now Dad is protecting you. Because that's what you do for family. Luca's voice was fierce. You protect them, no matter what. Aaron stared at this 10-year-old boy who'd just called her family. Before she could respond, the gunfire intensified. Something exploded, closer this time. The panic room shook. Luca whimpered and buried his face in Aaron's shoulder. Aaron held him tight, her own fear threatening to overwhelm her. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, The sounds of fighting began to fade. Silence fell. Aaron and Luca sat frozen, barely breathing, waiting. Then the speaker mounted on the wall crackled to life. "Aaron, Luca, it's me. It's over." Bruce's voice, rough and exhausted, but alive. Aaron nearly collapsed with relief. "Open the door," Bruce said. "You're safe." Aaron stood on shaking legs and moved to the door. Her fingers fumbled with the lock mechanism, but finally she got it open. Bruce stood in the hallway, his clothes torn and blood-spattered. Not his blood, Aaron realized with a sick feeling. His face was hard, cold, but when he saw Luca, his expression cracked. "Dad!" Luca ran to him. Bruce caught his son and held him tight, his eyes closing for just a moment. Then he looked at Aaron over Luca's head. "They were Calabrese soldiers," he said. 8 of them. They breached the perimeter specifically looking for you." Aaron felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "Did anyone—" "2 of theirs are dead. None of ours." Bruce's jaw tightened. "But they'll try again. And next time, they might succeed." Aaron's legs gave out. Bruce caught her before she hit the floor, one arm still holding Luca, the other supporting her. "I can't do this," Aaron whispered. "I can't be the reason people die. I can't." "You're not the reason," Bruce said firmly. "The Calabreses are the reason. This world is the reason." "But they came for me, and they failed." Bruce's voice was steel. "They will always fail, because I will always stop them." "You can't promise that." "Yes, I can." Aaron looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "I just want my old life back, even if it means dying in a shipping container. At least then, no one else gets hurt." Bruce's expression softened, just slightly. "I understand," he said quietly, "but that's not an option anymore, because my son would never forgive me if I let you go and you died, and I would never forgive myself." He helped her stand, keeping one hand on her arm to steady her. "Come on," he said. "Let's get you both somewhere safe while my crew secures the perimeter." As they walked through the estate, past bullet holes and broken furniture and guards sweeping for any remaining threats, Aaron realized something with terrible clarity. She would never be free again. Not as long as she was connected to Bruce Benson. The attack has proven that Aaron will never be safe in Bruce's world. But what can be done when she's too valuable to let go and too vulnerable to protect? Drop your thoughts in the comments. 2 days after the attack, Bruce called a meeting. Aaron wasn't invited. Neither was Luca. But the boy had discovered years ago that the estate's ventilation system carried sound surprisingly well. He knew exactly which grate in which hallway allowed you to hear everything said in the main conference room. He brought Aaron there, putting a finger to his lips for silence. They crouched by the metal grate and listened. In the conference room below, Bruce sat at the head of a long table surrounded by 12 men. Dante was there, along with several other lieutenants Aaron had seen around the estate. But there were also outsiders, men in expensive suits who radiated power and danger. "Let's be clear about why we're here," one of them said, silver-haired, maybe late 50s, with a smooth, cultured voice. "Your pet charity project almost got 8 Calabrese soldiers killed on your property. That's a problem for all of us." "The Calabreses attacked my home," Bruce said coldly. "That's an act of war. An act of war that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't brought that woman into your world," the silver-haired man countered. "How long did you think you could harbor her before it caused problems?" "Her name is Erin," and she saved my son's life." "We're all very grateful," another man said, younger, with a thick Boston accent. "But gratitude doesn't change the tactical reality. She's a liability, Bruce. Every day she's here, she puts all of us at risk." "Then what are you suggesting?" Bruce's voice was dangerously quiet. Silence fell. Finally, Dante spoke. "There are 3 options. 1. She joins the organization fully. We train her, arm her, make her crew. 2. We relocate her under a new identity and cut all contact. 3. We eliminate the problem permanently." Erin felt Luca go rigid beside her. "Option 3 is off the table," Bruce said flatly. "What?" the silver-haired man asked. "Because you feel guilty? Because your son has gotten attached? Those are emotional responses, Bruce, not strategic ones. I don't care." "You should." The man leaned forward. "The Calabreses aren't the only ones circling. Nikolai Petrov wants her. The Russians want her. 6 other organizations see her as the perfect leverage against you. How long before someone succeeds in taking her?" "They won't." "You can't guarantee that." "Yes, I can." Bruce's voice dropped to a growl. "Because anyone who touches her dies, publicly, painfully. And I will personally make sure every single person in their organization understands what happens when you threaten my family." "She's not your family," Dante said quietly. "She's a stranger who happened to save Luca. She took 4 bullets meant for my son. That makes her family." The silver-haired man sighed. "You're letting emotion cloud your judgment, Bruce. That's dangerous for all of us." "Then maybe," a new voice said, young and fierce, "you're all heartless monsters who don't deserve Dad's loyalty." Everyone's head snapped toward the door. Luca stood there, his small frame shaking but his expression determined. "Luca!" Bruce stood. "What are you—" "I heard everything," Luca interrupted, stepping into the room, "and you're all wrong. Erin isn't a liability. She's the bravest person I've ever met. Son, go back upstairs." "No!" Luca moved to stand beside his father, facing down the room full of dangerous men. "She didn't know me. She didn't know you. She had no reason to save me. But she did it anyway. She threw herself in front of bullets for a stranger's kid. And now you're all sitting here talking about eliminating the problem?" Tears streamed down his face, but his voice didn't waver. "What's wrong with you? If you hurt her, you're murderers. You're no better than the people who killed Mom." The room went deathly silent. Bruce's face cracked. He knelt in front of his son. "Luca, I won't let you hurt her, Dad. I won't." Luca's voice broke. "She's the only person besides you who's made me feel safe since Mom died. If you let them hurt her, I'll never forgive you. Never." Bruce pulled his son into a fierce hug, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. Above them, hidden in the ventilation shaft, Erin covered her mouth to muffle her sobs. When Bruce finally released Luca, he stood and faced the council, his expression harder than stone. "You heard my son. Erin stays, under my protection. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave my territory and never come back." The silver-haired man shook his head. "You're making a mistake, Bruce. Then it's my mistake to make." "For what it's worth," the Boston-accented man said, "the kid's got guts. He's right. The woman showed courage we don't see often." "Courage doesn't pay the bills," Dante muttered. "No," Bruce agreed, "but it's worth something. And in this room, right now, it's worth everything." He picked up Luca and carried him toward the door. "Meeting adjourned," he said, without looking back. "And if I find out anyone went behind my back to hurt Erin, there won't be enough of you left to identify." He left, his son in his arms. The council members looked at each other. Finally, the silver-haired man stood. "He's going to get himself killed over a homeless woman." "Maybe," someone else said. "Or maybe he's going to show us what real loyalty looks like." They filed out, leaving the conference room empty. Above, in the ventilation shaft, Erin finally allowed herself to breathe. Luca had just defended her to a room full of killers. Bruce had just chosen her over every strategic advantage, and she had absolutely no idea what to do with that knowledge. That night, Bruce came to Erin's room. It was late, past midnight. Erin had been lying awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind replaying everything she'd heard at the council meeting. When the knock came, she knew who it was before the door opened. Bruce entered quietly, closing the door behind him. He looked exhausted, the kind of bone-deep weariness that comes from carrying impossible weight for too long. "Can we talk?" he asked. Erin sat up. "Of course." Bruce pulled a chair to her bedside and sat down heavily. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared at his hands. Finally, "You heard the meeting." "Luca brought me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." "I'm glad you heard." Bruce looked up. "You needed to understand the reality of your situation." Erin's throat tightened. "I understand that people want me dead. Not dead necessarily, but gone, certainly." Bruce leaned back. "The council is right about one thing. You're a strategic liability. Every enemy I have sees you as leverage. As long as you're connected to me, you'll be a target." "Then let me go." "Where would you go, Erin? Back to the shipping container? The Calabreses have eyes all over Red Hook. You wouldn't survive a week." "Then somewhere else. Another city. Another state. I'll disappear. They'll find you." Bruce's voice was flat. "These aren't street thugs. They're organized crime families with resources, connections, and surveillance networks. If they want to find you, they will." Erin felt tears building. "So I'm trapped forever?" "No." Bruce leaned forward. "There's one option we haven't discussed." "What?" "I give you a new identity, completely new. Name, social security number, birth certificate, entire life history. I relocate you somewhere safe, small town, far from New York, far from any organized crime activity. I set you up with a job, an apartment, a bank account, everything you need to disappear and start over." Erin stared at him. "You would do that?" "Yes." "Wait." Bruce was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. "Because my wife died in this world. Sophia was the love of my life, and she died because of choices I made, enemies I created, a life I couldn't leave." His eyes glistened. "I won't let that happen to you. You saved my son. You deserve to live, really live. Not as a prisoner in my world, but as a free woman in yours." Erin's tears spilled over. "What about Luca? He'll be devastated." "He will," Bruce agreed. "But he'll understand, eventually. Because keeping you here, trapped, afraid, constantly in danger, isn't protecting you. It's slowly killing you." He reached out and took her hand. "I'm letting you go, Erin. Not because I want to, but because it's the right thing to do." Erin looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. "In your world," she said quietly, "don't mafia bosses never let people go? Isn't it a sign of weakness?" "Yes," Bruce said simply, "but I'd rather be weak and know you're safe than strong and know I kept you in a cage." Erin broke down completely, sobbing. Bruce pulled her into his arms, carefully, mindful of her still healing injuries, and held her while she cried. "When?" she finally managed to ask. 3 days. I need time to arrange everything. Documents, relocation, cover story." Bruce pulled back to look at her. "I'm sending you to Pennsylvania. Small town called Millbrook. Population 3,000. I've arranged a job at the local clinic. They think you're a nurse relocating for a fresh start, which is true. I've set up an apartment, a car, everything. You've thought of everything. That's my job." Bruce almost smiled. "Keeping people safe, even when it means losing them. What will you tell your people?" "The truth, that I'm giving you a new identity and letting you go. That anyone who tries to follow you, hurt you, or interfere with your new life will answer directly to me." His voice hardened. "And they know I don't make empty threats." Erin wiped her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you. You already have. Every single day you were kind to my son. Every moment you showed him what real courage and compassion look like." Bruce stood. 3 days, Erin. Make peace with leaving. Say your goodbyes." He moved toward the door. "Bruce," Erin called, "what will you tell Luca?" Bruce paused, his hand on the doorknob. His shoulders sagged slightly. "The hardest truth of all," he said quietly, "that sometimes loving someone means letting them go." He left. Erin sat alone in the room, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. She was getting her freedom back. But the cost was saying goodbye to the 10-year-old boy who'd become like a son to her. The morning Erin was scheduled to leave, Luca locked himself in his room. Bruce knocked on the door repeatedly. "Luca, son, open up." "No, we need to talk about this." "I said no!" Luca's voice was raw from crying. "You're making her leave. You promised she was family. You lied." Bruce closed his eyes, pain etched across his face. He looked at Erin, who stood behind him in the hallway, her packed bag at her feet. "Let me try," she said quietly. Bruce nodded and stepped aside. Erin knocked gently. "Luca?" "It's me. Can I come in, please?" Silence, then quietly, "Okay." Erin heard the lock click. She opened the door and slipped inside. Luca sat on his bed, his face red and swollen from crying. The walls of his room were covered with drawings, dozens of them, all featuring Erin, her reading to him, her laughing, her sleeping, her healing. Every moment of their time together documented in colored pencil and hope. Erin's heart shattered. She sat beside him on the bed, not speaking, just being present. Finally, Luca said, "I don't want you to go." "I know." "Then why are you?" Erin took his hand. "Because as long as I stay here, bad people will keep trying to hurt me to get to your dad. And eventually, someone will succeed. Or worse, someone you love will get hurt trying to protect me. I don't care. We can protect you." "Sweetheart, you're 10 years old. You shouldn't have to protect anyone. You should be living your life, going to school, making friends, being a kid." "But I want you here," Luca said, his voice breaking. "I know, and I want to be here. But sometimes the right choice isn't the easy choice." Erin squeezed his hand. "Your dad is giving me something amazing. A chance to start over. a safe place, a real life. That's an incredible gift. Luca wiped his eyes. Will I ever see you again? Erin's throat closed. I don't know. Maybe. When you're older, when this world is different. That's not good enough. I know it isn't, but it's all I have. Luca was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his nightstand drawer and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I made this for you. I want you to keep it. Erin unfolded the drawing. It showed a beach at sunset. Two figures, a woman and a boy, older now, maybe a teenager, standing together on the sand, looking at the horizon. At the top, in Luca's careful handwriting, someday. I kept the one from before, Luca said. The one with the stars. And I made this one for you. So we both remember. Tears streamed down Erin's face. Remember what? That someday, when I'm grown up and I can make my own choices, I'm going to find you. And we're going to go to the beach together. Just like this. Erin pulled him into a fierce hug. Promise? I promise, Luca said fiercely. Cross my heart. They held each other for several minutes. When they finally pulled apart, Luca gave her a shaky smile. Will you write to me, even if you can't tell me where you are? I don't think that's safe. Please, just let me know you're okay, even if it's through Dad. Erin looked into his hopeful eyes and couldn't say no. Okay, I'll send word through your dad once a month. I'll let you know I'm safe. Luca's smile widened. Good. There was a knock at the door. Bruce's voice, gentle. It's time, son. Luca took a deep breath, then stood. Okay. Erin stood in the driveway of the estate, her single bag at her feet. A car waited, dark, anonymous, with tinted windows. Her new life packed into one small piece of luggage. Bruce handed her an envelope. Everything you need. New ID. Your name is Emma Richardson now. Social security card, birth certificate, bank account information, the address in Millbrook, job start date, and a phone number. Erin took the envelope with trembling hands. What's the phone number? Mine. Direct line. If you ever need anything at all, you call that number, day or night. Bruce's eyes were intense. You saved my son. That means you always have protection. You understand? Yes. Good. Dante appeared from the house, car keys in hand. He stopped when he saw Erin. His ear's expression unreadable. I'll drive her, he said to Bruce. Bruce nodded. Dante opened the car door. Ready? Erin turned back to the house one last time. Luca stood in a window on the second floor, his hand pressed against the glass. Erin raised her hand in a wave. Luca waved back, tears visible even from this distance. Erin climbed into the car. As they drove away, she looked back at Bruce, standing alone in the driveway, hands in his pockets, watching her leave. She realized something profound. Bruce Benson had just done the one thing mafia bosses never do to. He'd let someone go free, not out of weakness, out of love. 3 years later, Erin, now Emma Richardson, stood behind the reception desk of Millbrook Family Clinic, updating patient files on the computer. Her life had changed completely. She had an apartment, a car, friends, a therapist who'd helped her process 3 years of homelessness and trauma. She worked at the clinic 4 days a week, helping people, using her medical skills again. She was healing, but she thought about Luca every single day. True to her word, she'd sent updates through Bruce once a month. Short messages. I'm safe, I'm healthy, I'm thinking of you. And every month, Bruce would send back a brief response. Luca is well. He asks about you constantly. He's growing up strong. It wasn't enough, but it was something. The clinic door chimed. Erin looked up from her computer and froze. A teenager stood in the doorway. Tall now, maybe 13 years old. Dark hair, blue eyes that she'd recognize anywhere. "Luca?" Erin whispered. The boy's face broke into the widest smile she had ever seen. "Hi, Erin." She rushed around the desk and pulled him into a fierce hug. Luca hugged her back just as tightly, both of them crying and laughing at the same time. "What are you doing here?" Erin pulled back to look at him. "How did you—" "Dad said I could visit. For the weekend." Luca's smile was radiant. "He's outside. Wanted to give us a minute." Erin looked through the window. Bruce stood beside a car, his hands in his pockets, watching them. He looked older, tired, but when he met her eyes, he nodded once. Acknowledgement, respect, gratitude. Erin nodded back, tears streaming down her face. "I kept it," Luca said, pulling the beach drawing from his jacket pocket. It was worn and creased from being carried everywhere. "I kept it for 3 years, and I thought, maybe we could make it real. There's a beach about 2 hours from here. Dad said he'd take us." Erin looked at the drawing, then at Luca, then out at Bruce. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I would love that." That afternoon, the three of them stood on a small, quiet beach. It wasn't dramatic, no sunset yet, no perfect lighting, just sand and water and 3 people who'd saved each other's lives in different ways. Luca stood between Erin and Bruce, holding both their hands. "Thank you," he said to both of them, "for keeping your promises." Bruce squeezed his son's hand. "Always." Erin squeezed the other hand. "Always." They stood there watching the waves, and for the first time in years, all 3 of them felt complete. Erin was no longer homeless. Luca was no longer alone. And Bruce Benson, the wolf of Red Hook, feared mafia boss, ruthless businessman, had finally reclaimed the one thing he thought he'd lost forever: his humanity. What did you think of Erin, Bruce, and Luca's story? Like if you loved this emotional journey. Subscribe for more powerful stories about courage, sacrifice, and redemption. And comment your favorite moment. Was it Erin taking the bullets, Luca defending her, Bruce letting her go, or the beach reunion? Remember that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is run toward danger to protect someone who can't protect themselves. And sometimes the hardest thing you can do is let someone go so they can be free. See you in the next story.